The threshold of war. The warning klaxons screamed through the corridors of Europa Station as Commander Sarah Mitchell raced toward the command center. Her boots struck the metallic floor in rapid succession, echoing through the facility buried deep beneath the frozen surface of Jupiter's moon. She had spent the last 3 years overseeing humanity's most distant permanent outpost, but nothing in her training had prepared her for what the long-range sensors had just detected. Status report. She barked as she burst through the sliding doors. Lieutenant James Park looked up from his console, his face pale. Confirmed contact, Commander. 17 vessels of unknown origin approaching from the outer rim. They're not responding to any standard communication protocols. Sarah gripped the back of the command chair, steadying herself as the reality of the situation sank in. First contact. After decades of searching the stars, wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, the answer had finally come to them. Distance and approach vector. They'll reach Jupiter's orbit in approximately 6 hours at their current velocity. The ships are massive. Commander, each one is roughly 3 kilometers in length. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying the sensor data. The alien vessels moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly luminescence that defied conventional understanding. Sarah had dreamed of this moment since she was a child, but the cold efficiency of their approach filled her with unease. Open all communication channels. Try everything. Radio, laser pulse, quantum entanglement. If they're advanced enough for interstellar travel, they must have some way to communicate. As her crew worked frantically at their stations, Sarah activated the priority channel to Earth. The face of Ambassador David Chen appeared on her personal screen, the transmission delayed by the vast distance between them. Ambassador, we have 17 unknown vessels approaching Jupiter space. No response to communication attempts. I'm transmitting all available data now. Even across the light minutes of separation, she could see the weight of responsibility settle on Chen's shoulders. The Chinese diplomat had been appointed as Earth's primary representative for potential alien contact, a position many had considered ceremonial until this moment. Understood. Commander Mitchell, maintain defensive posture but take no aggressive action. I'm convening the United Earth Council immediately. For the next 3 hours, Europa Station watched and waited. The alien fleet continued its inexorable approach, ignoring all attempts at peaceful contact. Then, without warning, they stopped just beyond Jupiter's gravitational well and arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the gas giant. Commander, Park's voice cracked slightly. They're powering up something. Energy readings are off the scale. Before Sarah could respond, every screen in the command center filled with the image of a being unlike anything in Earth's xenobiological databases. The creature stood 3 meters tall, its crystalline form refracting light in impossible patterns. When it spoke, the universal translator struggled to keep pace with the complex harmonics of its language. Inhabitants of the third planet, the being announced, its voice resonating through the station speakers like a symphony of glass bells. I am Admiral Vexlor of the Velcari Empire. Your species has reached the threshold of interstellar capability. By the ancient laws of the galaxy, you must now choose. Submit to the Empire's guidance, or face the consequences of defiance. Sarah straightened her spine, knowing that her next words would be remembered throughout human history. Admiral Vexlor, I am Commander Sarah Mitchell, representing the United Earth Federation. We welcome peaceful contact with all species, but we do not recognize any external authority over our sovereign worlds. The alien's crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise or amusement. Your defiance is unexpected. Most primitive species understand the futility of resistance when faced with the might of the Empire. You have 72 of your hours to reconsider. After that, we will demonstrate why submission is your only logical choice. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Sarah turned to her communications officer. Get me a direct line to Earth. Priority 1. Within hours, the United Earth Council had assembled an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered in the orbital assembly chamber, their faces grave as they reviewed the footage from Europa Station. Ambassador Chen stood at the center of the circular chamber, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. Ladies and gentlemen, we face a moment that will define our species for generations to come. The Valkyrie have given us an ultimatum. Surrender our autonomy or face their demonstration of power. President Elena Rodriguez of the Americas Union leaned forward. What kind of demonstration are we talking about? General Alexei Volkov, head of Earth's Combined Defense Forces, activated a holographic display. Based on their energy signatures and the size of their vessels, we estimate their weapons capability to be several orders of magnitude beyond our own. If they choose to attack, our conventional defenses won't hold. Then perhaps we should consider their offer, suggested Prime Minister Singh of the Asian Federation. Surely survival is preferable to annihilation. The room erupted in heated debate. Some argued for diplomacy, others for immediate military preparation. But as the hours ticked by, one thing became clear. Humanity would not surrender without understanding what they were truly facing. It was then that Dr. Yuki Tanaka, director of the classified project Threshold, requested permission to speak. The elderly Japanese scientist had been silent throughout the discussion, but now she stood with quiet determination. "There is another option," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to her. "For the past decade, my team has been working on a defensive system based on quantum field manipulation. We call it the Threshold Protocol." Ambassador Chen frowned. "I've never heard of this project." "It was classified at the highest level," General Volkov interjected. "Even I was only briefed 6 months ago." "Dr. Tanaka, are you suggesting?" She nodded grimly. "The system is untested on this scale, but theoretically, it could create a quantum barrier capable of destabilizing matter at the subatomic level. Any object attempting to pass through it would be unmade." The implications hung heavy in the air. President Rodriguez broke the silence. "How quickly can it be deployed?" "The satellites are already in position around Earth and our major colonies. We only need the activation codes." The Council voted within the hour. The decision was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Humanity would prepare its defenses while attempting one final diplomatic solution. Ambassador Chen would meet with Admiral Vexlor to negotiate, while secretly, the Threshold Protocol would be brought online. 24 hours into the Valkyrie Ultimatum, Ambassador Chen's ship approached the alien fleet under flag of truce. The massive vessels dwarfed his diplomatic cruiser, their crystalline hulls pulsing with barely contained energy. As he was transported aboard the flagship, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into the maw of some cosmic predator. The interior of the Valkyrie ship defied human understanding. Corridors seemed to fold in on themselves, and gravity shifted directions seemingly at will. When he finally reached what appeared to be a command center, Admiral Vexlor was waiting. "Ambassador Chen." The alien's harmonious voice filled the chamber. "Have your people reconsidered their position?" Chen stood tall despite the oppressive atmosphere. "We seek understanding, Admiral. Why does your empire demand our submission? We pose no threat to you." "Threat?" Vexlor's form shifted, colors cascading through its crystalline structure. "You misunderstand. We offer guidance, not oppression. Left alone, young species like yours inevitably destroy themselves. We have seen it countless times. The Empire preserves order. And if we prefer to chart our own course, then you will serve as an example to others who might consider defiance." The meeting ended without resolution. As Chen's ship departed, he sent a coded message to Earth, Threshold Protocol authorized. The Valkyrie didn't wait for their deadline. 48 hours after first contact, they struck. Mars Colony Beta, humanity's pride and joy, came under attack without warning. Energy beams of unimaginable power carved through the colony's defensive shields like tissue paper. Within minutes, the settlement that had taken 20 years to build was reduced to molten glass. The attack was broadcast across the solar system, a clear message of Valkyrie superiority. 15,000 colonists died in those few minutes, their lives extinguished to make a point. The image of Mars burning would be seared into humanity's collective consciousness forever. But the Valkyrie had miscalculated. They expected terror and submission. Instead, they ignited a fury that had lain dormant in the human species since their earliest days. From Earth to the asteroid belt, from the moons of Jupiter to the research stations orbiting Saturn, humanity responded with one voice: never again. Sarah Mitchell watched from Europa Station as the Threshold satellites came online. Invisible to conventional sensors, the quantum field generators created a barrier that extended from Earth to the outer planets. It was humanity's line in the sand, their declaration that they would not go gently into servitude. Dr. Tanaka's voice crackled over the command channel. All stations report ready. The threshold is active. Admiral Vexlor appeared on screens across the solar system, its crystalline form radiating confidence. People of Earth, you have witnessed our power. Your defiance has cost you Mars. Continue this futile resistance, and Earth itself will share its fate. You have one final hour to surrender. But humanity's response had already been prepared. On every frequency, in every language, a single message was broadcast to the Valkyrie fleet. To the Valkyrie Empire, you attacked our colony. You murdered our people. You have shown us your true nature. This is humanity's final warning. Cross the threshold, and you will face the full measure of our resolve. We may be young among the stars, but we are not helpless. Push us again, and you will face destruction. The first part of humanity's gambit was complete. The line had been drawn, the warning given. Now, the universe would watch to see who would blink first. The line in the stars. The hour following humanity's warning passed in tense silence. Across the solar system, billions held their breath as the Valkyrie fleet remained motionless beyond Jupiter. In the command center of Europa Station, Sarah Mitchell stood rigid, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The quantum barrier of the Threshold Protocol shimmered invisibly between the alien fleet and the inner planets, an intangible line that might determine the fate of two civilizations. Energy spike detected. Lieutenant Park's voice shattered the silence. 3 Valkyrie vessels are moving toward the barrier. Sarah's hand moved instinctively to the command console. All stations, prepare for contact. Dr. Tanaka, are you monitoring? From Earth, the scientist's reply came through with unusual clarity, the quantum communication array eliminating the usual delay. We see them, Commander. The threshold is holding steady. If they attempt to cross. They didn't have to wait long for an answer. The lead Valkyrie vessel accelerated toward the barrier, its crystalline hull glowing with accumulated energy. As it reached the invisible boundary, reality itself seemed to waver. The ship's forward section simply ceased to exist, atomic bonds unraveling in a cascade of quantum uncertainty. The vessel's momentum carried it forward, and within seconds, 3 kilometers of advanced alien technology had been reduced to fundamental particles. The remaining Valkyrie ships stopped their advance immediately. Across the command network, human observers watched in stunned silence as the impossible played out before their eyes. The Threshold Protocol had worked, but the demonstration of its power left even its creators shaken. Admiral Vexlor's image appeared once more, but the alien's crystalline form now pulsed with what could only be interpreted as rage. Impossible. No primitive species could possess such technology. Ambassador Chen, still aboard his diplomatic vessel near Jupiter, seized the moment. Admiral, I request permission to approach for dialogue. Surely you can see that further conflict will benefit neither of our peoples. For a long moment, the alien commander was silent. Then, with what seemed like great effort, Vexlor spoke. Approach, human, but know that this setback changes nothing. The Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds. We will find a way through your barrier. As Chen's ship was escorted toward the Valkyrie flagship, a different drama was unfolding on Earth. In a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading synapsepsychologist, was analyzing every frame of the alien communications. Something about Vexilor's reactions didn't align with her models of a supremely confident conqueror. "General Volkov," she called, gesturing to her screens. "Look at this. The harmonic patterns in their communication. When they speak of the Empire, there's a subsonic frequency that suggests fear." The Russian general frowned. "Fear of what? They command a fleet that could sterilize planets." "That's just it. They're not afraid of us. They're afraid of something else, something that drove them to become conquerors in the first place." Her insight would prove more crucial than anyone realized. As Ambassador Chen was escorted through the alien flagship's impossible corridors, he noticed details that others might have missed. The Valkyrie crew moved with military precision, but there was something else in their movements, a constant vigilance, as if they expected threats from every shadow. When he finally stood before Admiral Vexilor in the ship's command center, Chen decided to take a calculated risk. "Admiral, in my culture, we have a saying. The hunter who claims every forest often runs from shadows in his own home. What shadows do the Valkyrie flee?" The alien commander's form flickered through a spectrum of colors that the translator couldn't interpret. Finally, Vexilor spoke, its voice lower than before. "You speak of things you cannot comprehend, human. The galaxy holds terrors that would shatter your primitive minds. The Empire exists to bring order, to prepare civilizations for what lurks in the dark between stars. Then help us prepare," Chen pressed. "Make us allies, not subjects. Humanity's strength could serve your cause better as partners than as slaves." "You destroyed one of our vessels with technology that should not exist," Vexilor countered. "How can we trust such an unpredictable species?" Before Chen could respond, alarms began shrieking throughout the Valkyrie ship. The holographic displays surrounding them erupted with tactical data, showing massive energy signatures appearing throughout the solar system. But these weren't human signatures. "They found us." Vexilor's voice carried something that needed no translation: terror. From the space between Neptune and Uranus, ships began emerging from tiers in reality itself. They were unlike anything in human records, vast, organic-looking constructs that seemed to writhe and shift as they moved. Where the Valkyrie ships were crystalline perfection, these newcomers were nightmarish amalgamations of flesh and technology. "The Devourers," Vexilor whispered. "Your barrier, your quantum manipulation." It drew their attention. "They hunger for advanced technology, for the energy of civilized worlds. The Empire has held them at bay for millennia. But now..." Chen's mind raced. "Admiral, our species are both in danger now. Let us help. Together, we might." "Your world is doomed," Vexilor cut him off. "As is ours. The Devourers will consume everything in this system. Our only option is retreat." But as the Valkyrie fleet began to power up their drives, something unexpected happened. The threshold barrier, designed to keep threats out, also worked to keep threats in. The Devourer ships, drawn by the quantum signatures, found themselves trapped within the solar system's defensive perimeter, just as surely as the Valkyrie were trapped outside the inner planets. On Earth, the crisis had evolved beyond anyone's imagination. Dr. Tanaka worked frantically with her team to understand what they had inadvertently created. The Threshold Protocol, it seemed, had done more than generate a simple barrier. It had fundamentally altered the quantum structure of local spacetime, creating a resonance that attracted entities from dimensions humanity had never dreamed existed. General Volkov looked at the tactical displays showing the three-way standoff. "We have the Valkyrie fleet beyond Jupiter, these Devourers between the outer planets, and us holding the inner system. It's a cosmic Mexican standoff." President Rodriguez's voice came through the command channel. "Options." Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. "I've been analyzing the Devourer vessels. They're not ships in the conventional sense. They're living organisms that have evolved to consume energy. The Valkyrie fear them because they represent entropy itself, the ultimate end of order. Can we communicate with them? Unknown. But we have something neither the Valkyrie nor the Devourers expected: adaptability. The threshold protocol can be modified. Over the next crucial hours, humanity's greatest minds worked on a solution that seemed impossible. The quantum barrier could be reconfigured, not just as a defensive shield, but as a weapon. Dr. Tanaka's team, working with insights provided reluctantly by the Valkyrie, developed a new application for their technology. Ambassador Chen, still aboard the Valkyrie flagship, served as the unlikely bridge between species. Admiral Vexlor, faced with the greater threat of the Devourers, finally began to see humanity in a different light. Your species creates a defensive barrier and within hours transforms it into something we never imagined, the alien admitted. Perhaps we misjudged your potential. Help us refine it, Chen urged. Your knowledge of these Devourers, combined with our adaptability, might save us all. The collaboration was uneasy, born of desperate necessity. But as Valkyrie science merged with human innovation, something remarkable emerged. The threshold protocol could be inverted, turned from a barrier into a lance of quantum disruption that could target the Devourer's unique physiology. As the monstrous bioships approached Earth's orbit, humanity prepared to fire their untested weapon. The stakes couldn't be higher. Failure meant the consumption of every thinking being in the solar system. Success might establish humanity as a power to be reckoned with on the galactic stage. All stations report ready, Dr. Tanaka announced. Threshold lance is charged and targeted. Sarah Mitchell, from her post on Europa Station, coordinated the firing solution. The Valkyrie fleet provided telemetry data, their sensors far more sophisticated than Earth's. It was a moment of unlikely unity between would-be conqueror and intended conquest. Fire, General Volkov commanded. The quantum lance erupted from Earth's orbital platforms, a coherent beam of reality distortion that carved through space itself. It struck the lead Devourer vessel, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a cancer being excised from healthy tissue, the bioship began to unravel. The effect cascaded through the creature's quantum entanglement with its fellow ships, creating a chain reaction that swept through the Devourer fleet. Within minutes, the nightmare entities that had terrorized the galaxy for eons were reduced to inert organic matter drifting in the void. The impossible had been achieved through the marriage of Valkyrie knowledge and human ingenuity. In the aftermath, as debris fields slowly orbited the sun, Admiral Vexlor faced Ambassador Chen with something approaching respect. Your species is unprecedented. In our arrogance, we nearly destroyed a potential ally against the dark. Then let this be a new beginning, Chen replied. The galaxy is vast, and threats like the Devourers may return. But together, we can stand guard. The Valkyrie fleet withdrew to the edge of the solar system, no longer as conquerors but as chastened observers. The Empire would need to reconsider its approach to young civilizations, especially one that had turned certain defeat into victory through sheer adaptability and determination. On Earth, the threshold protocol was refined and expanded. Humanity had not only survived first contact, but had established itself as a species worthy of respect. The quantum barrier remained active, but now it served as both shield and statement. Earth would defend itself and others against the darkness between stars. Dr. Vasquez's analysis proved prophetic. The galaxy was indeed full of terrors, but it was also full of potential allies. The Valkyrie Empire, humbled by their encounter with humanity, began to transform from conquerors to confederates. Other species, drawn by stories of the small blue world that had defeated the Devourers, initiated contact with offers of trade and knowledge exchange. As Sarah Mitchell stood on Europa Station's observation deck, looking out at Jupiter and the stars beyond, she reflected on how much had changed in just a few days. Humanity had been tested and had not only survived but triumphed. They had drawn a line in the stars and defended it against impossible odds. The warning Earth had issued echoed through the galaxy. Push us, and you will face destruction. But underlying that warning was a promise. Stand with us, and together we can face whatever comes from the dark. The universe had learned something about humanity that day. They might be young among the stars, but they were far from helpless, and when pushed to the brink, they had shown that Earth's patience did indeed have limits, limits that no force in the galaxy would dare test again. 6 months later, as the first joint human-Valkyrie expedition prepared to launch toward the galactic core, Ambassador Chen stood beside Admiral Vexilor on the bridge of the collaborative vessel Unity. The crystalline alien turned to the human, its form shimmering with what Chen had learned to interpret as satisfaction. Your species continues to surprise us, Ambassador. This ship, merging our technologies, is beyond what either of us could have achieved alone. Chen smiled. It's just the beginning, Admiral. The galaxy is vast, and we have much to learn from each other. As the Unity jumped to faster than light speed, carrying representatives of both species toward new horizons, the message was clear. Humanity had not just survived first contact, they had transformed it into first steps toward a larger destiny among the stars. The line Earth had drawn remained, no longer a barrier born of desperate defense, but a boundary marking where a new chapter of galactic civilization began. And at its heart stood humanity, young, adaptable, and ready to face whatever challenges the universe might hold.